Welcome to this explainer. I am so thrilled you're here. Today we're going to completely flip the script on a topic that, let's be honest, usually gets a reputation for being a bit dry. We're talking about business ethics. But listen, we are not just going to sit around philosophizing today. Instead, we're diving into the hard data and the actual structural frameworks that prove ethics isn't just some abstract debate. It's a measurable, absolutely foundational component of business success and survival. If you really want to understand how modern corporations function under the hood, you need this comprehensive chapter overview.
Here's our agenda for today's briefing. We'll start with the modern ethical dilemma, followed by defining business ethics. Then we'll look at a crisis in trust, the evolution of ethics, the ROI of ethics, and wrap up with future challenges like AI and ESG. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The modern ethical dilemma, a real-world crisis. To truly grasp this academic overview, we need to ground it in reality. Because, ethical lapses rarely start with some mastermind villain. They usually just start on an ordinary Tuesday with a smartphone.
Picture this hypothetical case study from our text. Madison is scrolling through TikTok late at night, right? And she spots a video of her coworker, Mark. Mark is highly intoxicated, he's wearing his company shirt, and he is loudly leaking confidential information about an upcoming corporate merger. To make matters even more complicated, Madison's friend Caroline admits she was the one who actually filmed and posted the video without Mark's knowledge. Caroline begs Madison to just stay quiet. She argues that reporting it would get Mark fired, ruin his family's livelihood, and put Caroline's own job on the chopping block. But if Madison stays quiet, the video could cause massive panic among employees and permanently damage the company. So, what do? Do you protect your friends, or do you protect the firm?
That TikTok dilemma, that isn't just office drama. It's a massive corporate liability, and it perfectly illustrates the real-world stakes of corporate reputation. The legendary investor Warren Buffett famously framed the ultimate test for exactly this kind of pressure. He said, "I want employees to ask themselves whether they are willing to have any contemplated act appear the next day on the front page of their local paper, to be read by their spouses, children, and friends." In our digital age, that front page is literally a TikTok feed. How you handle that pressure, well, that defines your organization's entire ethical culture. Moving right along to Section 2, defining business ethics, separating the personal from the professional. Because before we can solve modern dilemmas like Madison's, we really have to get our definitions straight. Now, what's really interesting here is how crucial it is to separate two concepts we constantly mix up. Morals, those are your personal, singular philosophies. They belong to you alone. But business ethics, that's entirely different. Business ethics comprises the organizational principles, values, and norms that guide group behavior. It's not just about what you personally think is right in the comfort of your own home. It's about the rules and acceptable behaviors defined by the group, the company, and the industry at large. When a business makes an ethical decision, it's weighing values within a highly complex collective environment. Section 3. A crisis in trust. Vulnerabilities in modern business. Because when a company fails to grasp those organizational definitions, it leads directly to huge, measurable vulnerabilities. Check out this data from the Global Business Ethics Survey. It reveals a literal crisis in workplace integrity. 49% of U.S. workers have observed misconduct. We are talking about abusive behavior at 22%, lying to stakeholders at 25%, and conflicts of interest at 23%. Even more alarming, 30% of employees feel pressure to compromise their standards. And of those brave enough to actually report misconduct, a staggering 79% experience retaliation. Those numbers prove that unethical behavior isn't some rare anomaly, it's a pervasive, daily threat to business operations.
And believe me, the public is watching. According to the Edelman Trust Barometer, which tracks global trust across all sorts of industries, financial services sits at just 52%. The financial sector is literally still struggling to regain public confidence years after major economic recessions and scandals. The bottom line is this: when misconduct runs rampant, public trust plummets. And when trust plummets, your business model is in deep, deep trouble.
Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds. The evolution of ethics. From philosophy to compliance. Business ethics didn't just appear out of nowhere, right? Historically, this landscape has shifted completely. Before the 1960s, business ethics was honestly mostly discussed by theologians. But in the 60s, consumerism took off, leading to President Kennedy's Consumer Bill of Rights. In the 70s, massive bribery scandals sparked the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. The 80s brought us the Defense Industry Initiative, which introduced corporate self-regulation.
Then, the 1990s totally changed the game with the federal sentencing guidelines. Suddenly, companies were legally rewarded for having compliance programs and severely punished if they didn't. The 2000s brought us massive accounting disasters like Enron, resulting in the strict Sarbanes-Oxley Act. And the 2010s gave us the Dodd-Frank Act to police financial markets. What you absolutely need to take away from this timeline is that ethics is no longer just about doing the right thing. It's a highly complex, institutionalized compliance landscape.
Section 5. The ROI of ethics. Ethics equals profits. We've talked about the risks and the laws, but why do top executives actually care? Well, because ethics equals profits. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how. There is a tangible, measurable return on investment here. It all starts with an ethical culture. That culture directly generates three powerful things: employee commitment, investor loyalty, and customer satisfaction. And all three of those pipelines flow directly into one final result: profits. A strong ethical culture is not a drain on your resources. It's actually the very engine that drives sustainable financial performance.
To summarize this like a slick executive briefing, think of these as the 4 pillars of ROI. First, employees who feel safe and respected, they're vastly more committed and productive. Second, investors see ethical companies as way lower risk, making them much more willing to entrust them with capital. Third, customers develop deep, long-lasting brand loyalty when they trust a company's integrity. And fourth, all of this combined drastically increases operational efficiency and innovation, directly contributing to higher profits. Good ethics is simply good business.
Which brings us to Section 6, Future Challenges, AI and ESG. We know how it pays off today, but emerging professionals are stepping into an entirely new frontier.
Take this wild debate highlighted in our source, the robot tax. As AI and robotics automate more and more human jobs, society faces a massive structural problem. The government relies heavily on human income tax to function, right? Well, if robots do the work, who pays the taxes? Supporters argue we have to tax the robots, or the companies using them, to make up the shortfall. Critics warn that taxing innovation like that will completely destroy global competitiveness. As you navigate the future of business, you're going to have to grapple with massive regulatory shifts driven by this kind of technology.
And you will absolutely have to navigate ESG, environmental, social, and governance. Listen, this isn't just a corporate buzzword. It's a critical new standard. Millennials and Gen Z now make up the largest chunk of the workforce and the consumer base, and they are demanding transparency. They want to know what a company is actually doing about climate change, diversity, gender equality, and social justice. Companies that ignore ESG, they're quickly finding themselves unable to recruit top talent or attract modern investors.
So, the crucial point is this: the line between your personal values and your corporate life is blurring faster than ever. As data tracking, AI, and social media completely merge our worlds, the source text leaves us with a highly provocative question to consider. When you step into the office or, when you log on from home, are you a citizen first and then an employee, or are you an employee first and then a citizen? How you answer that question is going to define the future of business ethics. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a powerful new lens for understanding the corporate world.